Kristaps Porzingis from Liepaja, Latvia.
Who the fuck is Tingus Pingus? I never heard of fucking Latvia.
Luka Doncic is the guard wing 2-3 from Real Madrid and Barcelona.
I don't give a damn about how this kid in Europe looks. I understand he's a 6'8" point guard. He's surreal. He'll probably be the number 2 overall pick.
His feet is slower than rush hour traffic, okay? Really slow feet.
Really? That's a problem.
So his NBA comparison is Hedo Turkoglu. Okay?
Domas Sabonis is a really good...
That's nuts, bro. That is fucking nuts. Hedo Turkoglu is crazy. I will say I was low on Luka going into the draft, so I can't really talk too much shit. But I will say just this. There have been a couple of examples in the NBA over the last couple of years that prove that you can succeed in the modern NBA without being a crazy athlete. Like, motherfuckers want to pull this card off that, like, yo, the athletes today, the basketball players today are, like, way too much better of an athlete for players in the past to succeed. And that's, like, the argument they choose to like, pick at Larry Bird and say how, like, Larry Bird would be ass in today's league. Yeah, bro, look at Luka. You know, look at Jokic. Fuck, look at Isaiah Thomas, bro. You got a 5'9" point guard averaging 30 in today's league. Like,
basketball player. And clearly, he's an all-star. It just doesn't move the needle for the Kings at all.
I apologize to Nikola Jokic, who is not only in the MVP discussion and deserved to be on my ballot, but he's one of the greatest players in the history of this game.
We shouldn't expect to see much from Porzingis until 2 or 3 years down the road. He was perceived as being a project that would be ready to produce in 3+ years. That was what we were told. I didn't see him. He was playing in Europe. I never saw the guy play.
The dude had 14, 3, and 5, and they're talking about him like he had a Russell Westbrook 40-point triple-double.
I don't know why in the EuroLeagues the numbers are always smaller across the board.
And today I'm breaking down why Victor Wembanyama will be the biggest bust in NBA history.
One more of those, and he is history, but that's rather unlikely. Volkov down the lane, lays it up, and a foul. Good move by
The Green Card 5. Alexander Volkov, Šarūnas Marčiulionis, Dražen Petrovic, Vlade Divac, and Žarko Paspal, the first 5 European players that directly went to NBA from Europe. The concept of an European basketball player back then in American eyes was that usually the Euro guys are soft, can only shoot the threes, will probably come over to the States, stay for a year, and will go back to dominate in their respective countries. Combine the factors that it was incredibly difficult to bring the best European players to NBA due to Iron Curtain, the ones that came to America had difficulties in understanding English and also had a culture shock. NBA back then was simply too different. A 3-point shot was considered to be a bad shot, more physical perimeter defense and no zone defense made a close-range jump shot more appealing, no off-ball movement, and there's a reason for us saying that certain players would flourish in today's NBA. But these 5 green card players made it clear that there's hidden talent in Europe, and as basketball slowly but steadily progressed and became a more global game, more and more Europeans came to NBA, and suddenly everyone wants the new Toni Kukoc. A decade later, everyone wants the new Dirk Nowitzki. The process wasn't that simple. Along the way, there were multiple players that failed, maybe because they were hostages of being too modern and playing in the wrong era. The beginning of analytics in the early 90s had a huge impact of rethinking the 3-point shot, thus enabling already capable long-range shooters to attempting more shots, and from NBA scouts' perspective, Europeans became even more attractive. Basketball.
I mean, let's just keep it a bean, though. Let's just keep it a bean. A lot of it is nepotism. This idea that, you know, modern players are not as good, or not modern players, foreign players are not as good as American players because America's dominated the sport, so why the fuck would we get talent from another country type shit? That's a lot of what it is. And also being in America, I mean, American athletes are... Oh, not nepotism, xenophobia. Why the fuck did I say nepotism? My bad, bro. I was trying to say xenophobia. I don't know. One of them isms and phobias type shit. Xenophobia. Xenophobia was the fucking word. But yeah, that's a lot of what it is xenophobia. And in America, like, again, these college athletes, the college to pro pipeline is still like what's considered the norm. I think this last draft has definitely proved that it's trending towards that it's not going to be the norm. The Thompson twins came out of OT Elite. Victor came out of Europe. Scoot came out of G League Ignite. And Brandon Miller came out of college. So I guess Brandon Miller. But yeah, man.
Basketball as a game became international. From Canada to China, from Serbia to Congo, the league became a worldwide attraction and NBA was reaping all the rewards. Now the tipping point, I would say, would be Greg Popovich and San Antonio Spurs as they implemented the European style of constant motion and ball movement. Their offensive game plan consisted of copying the best European coaches, having a center that can pass the ball, a stretch forward that can shoot the ball, and a squad filled with players that understands that type of basketball. NBA soon became a copycat league. Every team wanted to have a Spurs ex-player that became a coach or an assistant coach that perfectly knew ins and outs on how to play like San Antonio Spurs. Without even a blink, the style that was created in Europe but popularized by Greg Popovich in NBA became the standard of winning basketball. And yet again, Europeans that were already playing like this for decades and had the fundamentals to understand and thrive in such system, they were on an even higher demand as ever. Thus, NBA GMs, coaches, and scouts began to realize the importance of finding and bringing European athletes to NBA. Well, everyone except the American media.
This is what we got to understand. We tend to over-sensationalize European basketball. Okay, there's restrictions that cater to him. You can't have 9 Americans on the floor in Europe. There's going to be 9 bred Americans on the floor with you 95% of the time in the NBA. That changes the dynamics of the game.
For the longest possible time, every single media analyst was convinced that NCAA is a better competition than EuroLeague. Basically, that college teens...
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest, when I was growing up, and again, this does come from a place of ignorance. I always thought it was the NBA, NCAA, and overseas shit. Like, I'm just keeping a bean. You know, that's how I viewed basketball talent and where the best competition is. So... I'm glad we're seeing the truth, though. So.
Matchup than a league consisting of players that actually played in NBA. It was extremely irritating listening how the media tried digesting the competition in Europe when it comes to analyzing Luka Doncic. EuroLeague has the biggest amount of ex-NBA players, and Luka debuted in EuroLeague when he was only 16. He didn't shy away from tough competition. Straight away he showcased extreme amounts of maturity. Luka possessed that talent and showcased his game at the highest level possible at that age. It was unseen, it was unheard, and everyone knew that this is something special. In his last season in Europe, Luka Doncic won a EuroLeague title, became EuroLeague's MVP, also Finals 4 MVP, Spanish League's MVP. He was the youngest winner of these awards at just 19. In the summer, Luka gifted his country Slovenia first ever medal in FIBA Eurobasket tournament. But I mean, who the hell cares?
Now that was a tough move. We gotta rewind that back, bro. Hold on.
His country Slovenia first ever medal in FIBA Eurobasket tournament. But I mean, who the hell cares? Those gun-hating, freedom-restricting Europeans with their small numbers, we can't analyze this, we can't transition Luka's game to NBA. What's more crazy that Kristaps Porzingis, a player that was deemed to be a bust, was already balling out for 3 years alongside Carmelo Anthony in a big market team. Kevin Durant even gave a nickname to Kristaps, calling him a unicorn, a nickname that is now popularized in describing point centers. So Porzingis completely flipped how most Americans viewed him. Knicks fans were literally apologizing to Kristaps as he became a sensation. Yet Kristaps didn't even play in EuroLeague, he played in a league behind EuroLeague and he was nowhere near NBA readiness as Luka was. Of course, for basketball mastermind,
I think ultimately people just aren't informed. There is gonna be a learning curve for the rest of the... Well, it's majority for like US based people to like be more informed on how European overseas basketball works, the tiers as to which it works, because it's not just like one EuroLeague. There's different leagues within Europe. There's China. Not saying China's in Europe, but you know what I mean. Like, again, there's this mentality with a lot of Americans that it is the NBA, the NCAA Division I basketball, and everything that's not in America. That's the mentality that a lot of Americans have when it comes to basketball. And it's just going to be up to, honestly, the media and for fans to be more intentional with trying to be more informed more with what the fuck is going on with Europe. But at the same token, man, I'm just keeping it being. A lot of NBA fans are just NBA fans. That is it. All right? I'm gonna keep it a bean. I'm one of them. I think this upcoming NCAA season, I am gonna make a concerted effort to watch more women's basketball because I really liked what I saw from the Final Four last year. But I would be lying to y'all if I said I was gonna keep up with Division I men's basketball, if I was gonna keep up with the WNBA, if I was gonna keep up with EuroLeague basketball. 1, I just don't have enough time. 2, I do not want to. 3, I have other shit to do. And 4, I enjoy talking about the NBA and are more and is most knowledgeable about the NBA anyways. So.
Like Stephen A. Smith, this didn't even register. If you put Martha Stewart, Flight, and Stephen A. Smith into the same room, Martha Stewart would definitely have the most basketball knowledge in that room. And why the hell a sports analyst needs to bring down one young player just to emphasize how good is another young player? Now, I do understand that sports media has to dumb it down to the casual fans, but that's so fucking weird seeing a 50-year-old being so toxic towards a bunch of teenagers. And what about pronunciations? The dude can't Google or ask around how to pronounce Luka Doncic or Kristaps Porzingis? Of course he can. He can easily delegate someone to quickly explain how to pronounce Doncic, but he chooses not to, just to disrespect the player. Obviously now, when Europeans are winning MVP titles, NBA championships, when more and more Americans are trying to watch EuroLeague and FIBA games, Stephen A. Smith is forced to shift his opinion because he is a boomer who thinks that basketball is dominated by strictly American athletes. And the idea of basketball being a global game simply doesn't exist for him. Now,
I'm gonna keep it a bean, bro. Stephen A. Smith does not watch that much sports. Keep it a buck. Skip Bayless, same thing. Shannon Sharp, same thing. They do not watch as much sports as you think. And I think the problem is we are seeing too much analysis asked from people who actually do not watch that much sports. I would not be surprised if all Stephen A. Smith watches is majority NBA games and NFL games and a couple of baseball games and keeps it pushing. He's not watching hockey. That's the reason why you never see hockey segments on First Take. He's not watching golf. When he's watching basketball, he's not watching the EuroLeague. He's not watching, the latest draft prospects in the league because the money isn't talking about the Lakers. Isn't talking about the Celtics. Isn't talking about a lot of the NBA shit that's going on. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's fine. I think that is fine. I think when Jokic, the whole thing in the finals with thinking Jokic was corny for not caring about the finals MVP and feeling like he doesn't love the game. If you're on that side of the fence that says, people in general just need to have a better work-life balance, that's going to have to come with the sacrifice of not working as much. And when your job is to analyze sports, having a good work-life balance, the compromise is going to be not watching as much sports. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, in one hand, I see the criticism. I truly do. I understand it. These motherfuckers get paid millions to talk about sports. Watch the game. But on the other side of the token, it's like, do you want people to have healthier work-life balances or not? And we already talk about how Stephen A. Smith is already getting ran through the ground with all this analysis shit. And honestly, if you just look at Stephen A.'s work schedule, how much time he is on air, deadass, calculate how much time he actually has to watch NBA games and just games in general. It's really not that much. It's really not that much. When he has to go on air 3 to 4 hours a day, plus travel, plus, breaks, plus sleeping, plus other social activities, he's not going to have that much time to actually watch so many games, bro. It just is what it is. Just is what it is. These motherfuckers are humans too, but...
To be honest, I've been noticing that a lot of American basketball analysts and even players began understanding why Europeans have a competitive advantage over players that developed in EU basketball environment. A young player like Luka Doncic is thrown into a system of best young players. If he doesn't showcase glimpses of potential, he's out. Even more pressure when he moved up to the Real Madrid main team. No one is going to tank for your development, no one is going to be patient and babysit you. There's simply no room for mistakes. Either you show something right away or you're going back to the youth team or being loaned out. And evidently this kind of development is perfectly working at the highest level. So just stop gatekeeping basketball. Everyone enjoys and benefits from having Europeans, Asians, South Americans, and North Americans playing and developing their players. And we should be happy to see diversity in a game that we love.
I want to see more fucking Filipinos in the league, though. I ain't gonna lie. Man. Give us one Filipino star that really embraces being Filipino. I'm going crazy, bro. I'm going crazy. Not on some Vanessa Hudgens shit where you're like biracial and you're partly Filipino, and when they ask you, yeah, I love adobo type shit. Nah, man, I want a Filipino in the NBA who embraces that shit, who wears that shit on his fucking shoulder and goes crazy. Y'all talking about get taller. I ain't gonna lie, again, Filipinos on average are pretty short people. It's kind of funny because every time I go down to my family, there was like, oh my God, Brian, you're so tall. Holy shit. And then I come on my podcast and I get called short. Because to Americans, 5'8" is short. But to Filipinos, 5'8" is actually pretty fucking tall. I'm being so dead ass. There's not too many fucking Filipino functions I've gone to where I am not one of the tallest people in the room. It's kind of funny. But yeah, Kai Soto's our best chance right now. I think he's on the Summer League team for the Orlando Magic. He's like 7'2", 7'3" type shit. But yeah. That's our best chance right now. But whatchamacallit? Shout out to Ball Junkie for the video. That was a fantastic video. Again, like I just said, I think a majority of it is rooted in xenophobia and ignorance when it comes to EuroLeague basketball. And people like emphasizing these EuroLeague and foreign busts when American busts happen just as often, to be honest with you. But we want to focus on the Dragan Benders and the Darko Milicic of the world and not the Anthony Bennett's and I don't even fucking know, the Michael K. Gilchrist of the world type shit.